This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. A link to the book will be placed in the description below. Welcome to History in the Eyes of a Southerner with your host, Anthony Allen. On this channel, we will take a journey through time and relate history to the contemporary eyes of modern America. I hope you enjoy the ride as I investigate and document the wonderful events that have shaped our present world. All right, y'all. Here's part 2 in the series of Mississippi history. I'll try to go chronological order. In the Mississippi Territory series, I just did one on the Yazoo land scandal. Now I'm going to do one on the establishment of the Mississippi Territory, which happened April 7th, 1798. And basically this went from the present-day Georgia state line on the west, north of the 31st parallel, to just a little bit north of the 32nd parallel. Basically, it was about halfway up to the Tennessee border. And then north of that was Choctaw and Chickasaw territory. So basically, it was right at about present day I-20, Interstate 20. Or better yet, not Interstate 20, U.S. Highway 80. That was basically the dividing line, just about. And then, of course, in 1802, it went all the way up to the Tennessee border. Or 1804, excuse me. But the state of Georgia, after the Yazoo scandal, the Yazoo land scandal, didn't want to recognize the Mississippi Territory. In fact, they didn't recognize it until 1802. So almost 4 years after the Mississippi Territory was formed, Georgia still disputed it. What happened is the government basically, when they stepped in, I'm sure, forced the state of Georgia to cede the land. I'm sure they had to, so that they could properly dispose of the contested swindle that happened, and the contested territories. They had to go in and figure out how to handle it. Once they did that, of course, that helped out with forming the Mississippi Territory in 1804, and also started the Indian removal. Now, the Indian removal, again, I'll never defend it. It was, I mean, it was horrible. It was genocide. Um, but they needed a way to open it up for the white man, I guess, so that the agriculture trade could be furthered. Later on, around 1808, the was located, capital of the Mississippi Territory was located in what is now a ghost town just outside of Natchez called Washington, Mississippi. Roughly 10 miles from Natchez. And what that was basically giving credence to Natchez becoming what it would become, which, you know, 20, 30 years later would become the richest country with more, or richest city in the country with more millionaires per capita than any other city in the U.S. at that time, to include Philadelphia, Boston, and New York, and Charleston, which were not poor cities by any means, and also open up the wealthy plantation owners. Natchez, Mississippi back then would be like what we would envision Beverly Hills, California. Natchez was about as close to the aristocracy, if you will, of the time as you can get. Sadly, though it is still a beautiful city to this day, it is nowhere near what it used to be. But you can still go. You can go there today, and you can still see the large plantation homes. You can still see the historical buildings. I mean, it's 200 years later is a very very lovely place. I've only been there a couple of times, but I don't get out that way much. But it is a beautiful city. I'm going to do another video on the Gulf Coast or the Mobile District next. And then I'm going to get into why Mississippi and Alabama split and became two separate territories and later two separate states.